Good evening and welcome to The Buck Stops Here. Members of a sect claiming to be followers of Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose are at the heart of clashes in Mathura. 24 people, including 2 police personnel, have been killed in those clashes that took place on Thursday evening. The Azad, Bharat, Vidhik, Vaicharik, Kranti, Satyagrahi and the smaller Swadheen Subhash Sena have many startling political demands, including the removal of the Prime Minister and the President and removing the rupee, introducing the Azad Hind Fauj currency. But their politics aside, how on earth did they manage to squat on 260 acres of public land for nearly 2 years? How did they manage to amass a terrifying arsenal of grenades, guns and swords? And the obvious question, what was the administration doing all this time? Why did they wait for things to boil over? Now, after all the violence, their leader and the man believed to be the mastermind of these clashes, Vraksha Yadav, is missing. So, of course, we're going to be talking about this particular incident in Mathura. We're being joined by the Samajwadi Party's Juhi Singh in Lucknow, the BJP's Shaina NC in Mumbai. In the studio, we have Pankaj Pachauri, senior journalist and also a resident of Mathura. So, you can tell us about the ground situation. Juhi Singh, first, let me come across to you actually. What's going on? I mean, the law and order situation seems to be spiraling out of control in Mathura. Police officers have been killed. These guys were sitting in a park, what they call it a park. It looks more like a forested area, 260 acres of it, sitting there for 2 years, amassing weapons under the police's nose.
With the on the serious note that 2 of our police officers have died in this entire scenario, and we have been making efforts since these people came through peaceful means to remove them from the land which they were occupying. There was no political pressure on the district administration to give them any sort of security. The matter was pending in the court. As soon as the court orders came, again it's the ground level administration which decides how to carry out an operation, and yes, these people were occupying that land illegally. The mishap happened, maybe it happened, there was a lapse in intelligence, there was a lapse in planning. We've set up an inquiry. The only commitment which I am making, and a serious commitment from our government, to whosoever is going to come out as a person who was responsible for this, whether it was the administration or it was the leader, who is definitely a person who has been very instrumental in escalating this, action will be taken against him. We are very serious about this matter, and we were constantly trying to engage them in conversations so that such a situation does not arise where we have to use let's say armed force. And again the decision lies with the district administration how to remove people who are occupying land illegally.
Right,
the Chief Minister has ordered an inquiry. Yes.
I just want to bring Shaina NC into this as well, because the BJP has had some tough words for the administration over there. In fact, they're calling this political land grabbing. The BJP, in a sense, trying to sort of highlight the fact that the state administration has been lax. Shaina NC, so has the BJP's own MP from Mathura, Hema Malini.
Well, we'll come to that later, but right now let me please say, Maya, if it is one of the two, if it is political patronage, it's a bad situation. If it is a lapse of the administration, as we have seen repeatedly in Uttar Pradesh, it is only one more story which goes into the kitty of bad governance for the Samajwadi Party. This is not the first time that the Samajwadi Party has not been able to contain a situation in the state. It has been a repeated pattern, whether it's atrocities against women, whether it's rape, whether it is all kinds of lynching in public, and in this case the worst of worst, where you almost have a riot-like situation. I find it very hard to believe that the administration is so disconnected to the leadership of the state, that is the Chief Minister, that you let a situation aggravate to this extent, where so many people die, where 2 of your own officers die, and then you say that, you know, we're not sure whether it was lapse of administration or we're not sure whether it was political patronage. I think if it's either or, both are bad, and really Akhilesh Yadav has some serious answering to do. I mean, you cannot, law and order is a state subject. You cannot leave the onus or put the onus on a member of parliament or an MLA. You have to take control of your home state, whether it's land grabbing, whether it is dadagiri, whether it is, all kinds of dubious elements that have come into this kind of what I really wonder about, Maya, is how was there so much ammunition? Look at the grenades, look at the kind of lethal weapons. Where did all this come from? And the state administration is just completely quiet and not aware of anything and puts their hands up and says that,
in fact, the amount of ammunition there,
rescue too late.
Right. In fact, the amount of ammunition there is quite alarming. Pankaj is in the studio. We also have Shahid Siddiqui joining us from his residence, and Prakash Singh, the former DGP of Uttar Pradesh as well. I want to bring him in for a view from the security and law enforcement. Prakash Singh, the arsenal that these people seem to have had inside this Jawahar Bagh in Mathura, grenades, guns, swords, cylinders, now they're talking about, it seems to be never ending. They've been collecting it under the administration's nose.
Yes, in fact, you talked of something happening under the administration's nose. I'll take you back 2 years in time. The point is, these people encroached on government land 2 years back. Why did they allow this to happen? Why did they allow this to continue? Why was this problem not dealt with in the initial stages? Why was it not nipped in the bud? And initially, I suppose there would have been a crowd of say about 30-40 people, and now it increases to about 2,000 people. And meanwhile, they keep on collecting all kinds of weapons, ammunition, grenades, and all the rest of it. So all this was happening under the nose of the government. My questions are two, basically. One, why did the administration feel powerless in taking action against them? If there was no political constraint, then they should be punished for their inaction and for allowing crime to grow and proliferate.
Right.
Secondly, if there was political patronage, then that patronage has to be identified, and that politician has to be fixed. He has to be. And thirdly, I see, as far as investigation is concerned, I have no doubts that the UP police can investigate the crime part of it. Whatever rioting happened, whatever police action was taken, all that they are capable of investigating. But if there is a political angle to the whole thing, and if there was a political patronage which rendered the local administration ineffective, then that the local police will not be able to investigate.
All right, I'm going to
that
bring
can only
Shahid Siddiqui in on that question as well, because everyone's asking the same thing. I mean, what kind of political patronage could there have been? Was there any, or was it simply an inept administration? I mean, the fact of the matter is that these people say they are followers of Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose. It's a political ideology they're talking about. Remove the president, remove the prime minister, remove the currency of the country. A dream utopian world of selling petrol at 40 rupees, 1 rupee for 40 liters, things like that. Where are they getting their support from, a group like this, Shahid Siddiqui, in your view?
Maya, there are so many fringe groups getting training in Uttar Pradesh. We saw the training in Ayodhya, in Noida recently, and it had political patronage. That training was not stopped. That training was patronized. Similarly, this kind of, they have been trained. So this is not a failure just of the administration, just not of the UP government. It's also a failure of our intelligence agencies, whether of the center or in the state. Because if this kind of group was active, if they were getting armed training, if they were getting arms, if they were getting ammunition, then what was the intelligence agencies doing?
Okay.
Did the central intelligence agencies warn the UP government that this is happening? Did the intelligence input was there in Uttar Pradesh? So there is lot of, misdemeanor in this, and ultimately you required the court to take action. So that means there is political patronage. Of course, there is political patronage. Otherwise, in Muzaffarnagar, when the riots took place, they bulldozed the camps within 6 months. In the cold people were thrown out of the camps. Those who were thrown out of their houses were thrown out of the camps because they said that they are occupying government land. So if they could take action in Muzaffarnagar, why did not they take action here?
Right.
So it's a multiple failure on multiple fronts.
Okay, so Shahid Siddiqui is opening up another front of this because a fair point. I mean, is there any intelligence that basically looks at fringe groups across the country, and if so, has this group just simply been unnoticed? We'll come back to all those issues in just a moment. But Pankaj, I want to ask you, as somebody who calls Mathura home, why Mathura? How did these people get in there? What do they have to do with Mathura? I mean, really, what's going on?
See, Maya, this is very shocking and heartbreaking for me at the same time. Shocking because Mr. Dwivedi I just met a couple of months ago. He's a very fine officer. And heartbreaking because this is a place where I used to go as a kid, as a school going student to Jawahar Bagh to eat guavas. So that's why it has a very personal sort of twist to this whole thing. Now, why Mathura? In this entire belt in western UP, Muzaffarnagar he was talking about, there has been a serious crisis of unemployment. If you look at the history of Mathura recently, see, Mathura was never been violent. Even after the Babri Masjid demolition, there were no riots in Mathura. There was curfew. And I remember reporting from there was curfew, but there were no riots. So there's no history of this kind of a violence in Mathura. And that's why it breaks my heart. Now, this new groups which are coming up, the new groups are coming up because now the young, the restless, educated, but can't get a job, connected on WhatsApp. If you look at the WhatsApp, what's going on right now in the Mathura area, there are the horrible pictures of the dead police officers which are doing the rounds. There are all kind of propaganda which is going on. So this is what has happened. This is basically an offshoot of a cult there, which is Baba Jai Gurudev.
Jai Guru, yeah.
Baba
right.
Jai Gurudev has been there since I was a child. Nothing happened. Millions and millions people gathered every year at Baba Jai Gurudev Mandal, and nothing happened. They used to actually police the national highway in such a way that the traffic never stopped. They are such disciplined people. Now, after his passing away, there has been a power struggle going on for his legacy.
Within the groups?
Within the groups.
But I mean, these are groups that also, for example, you see them in West Bengal. I mean, those who claim to be taking forward the legacy of Netaji.
I just told you right now there are at least 15 crore Indians who are educated
and unemployed,
who don't have jobs, and this is what's been going on. And this is what Prakash Singh ji was saying, that about the rioting and all that. You cannot police this country. We have the least per capita police presence in this country. This can't be done by policing. This can be done only by society. This can be done only by
the young and the restless, as what you were saying. All right, Juhi Singh, come in. There's a lot of things. I know Shaina ducked my earlier question about Hema Malini. We'll get back to that in just a moment. But Juhi Singh, respond to what everybody is saying, because fundamentally, while Shahid Siddiqui is making the point of intelligence and the central responsibility as far as intelligence gathering is concerned, fundamentally, you're hearing about civil disobedience in the worst possible way. You're hearing about protests that have gone violent, encroachment, allegations of political patronage, a young and the restless population that is responsible for just simmering discontent that you're seeing, and an ill-equipped, inadequate police force in all this. So really the onus of all that squarely on the state government.
Maya, this operation was planned by the people who went there, and unfortunately incident has happened with them, Mr. Dwivedi, very fine officer, as everyone is saying. So somehow this planning is always done on the ground level. Again, the questions are being thrown up. Whatever Shahid Siddiqui says is his viewpoint. But these were people who were fringe, belong to fringe groups or groups who have no social responsibility. And in fact, they do their best to disrupt any social peace. Again, trainings which were going on. Bajrang Dal training is what he has mentioned. The administration controlled any incident which happened after that, people were arrested. We are taking action. I am not shying away from the responsibility of the state government. As Shaina LC is saying, let's talk about Hema Malini later. I'll talk about my government now. Yes, there are questions at the moment. We are going to take full action, and if there are any allegations on political patronage, then people will be brought to the book. The High Court order, again, the matter was pending in the High Court. The matter went to the High Court. It was taken by someone. It has not been that the High Court has taken the matter up itself. But intelligence failures, whether on the central level or the state level, must be examined, and we are going to examine them.
Okay.